the Torah teaches us, in addition to the lessons learned from Chayei Sarah, is that it's remarkable to me that in Judaism, people mark the anniversary of a loved one's death. Their yard sites. No one else that I know of does that.
It's true. In Jewish tradition, actually, after a person has left the world, the birthday isn't the important day anymore. The day of death is the important day, and the day of the passing is a special day for the relatives, and it's a day that they mark with special prayer and memory. And the truth is that when it comes to the righteous, the day is basically like a quasi-holiday, because there is an idea that the righteous, they shine on even brighter in the coming world. In fact, there's many teachings from our sages, like they say that the righteous in death are called alive, whereas the wicked in life are called dead. But the righteous, in this world were so great. They had such tremendous personal power. They had such an ability to bring Hashem's light into the world, and yet that was all commensurate to the fact that they were living as limited people. But when they're released, it's a Dylan song, "I shall be released." When they're released, when their spirit goes into the realm of the true reality, then there's nothing holding them back anymore. So that power basically like nurtures the world, and that's the secret of the verse. May the memory of the righteous be for a blessing. Zecher tzadik livracha. It's a verse, right? I believe it's Proverbs, and the idea is that their very memory, their very name, it brings about some sort of state of goodness into the world, because they left behind their good deeds and their influence, and they're like a star that keeps on shining. That verse in Daniel, towards the end of Daniel, that those that bring the many to righteousness shine like the stars forever, because they grow even more powerful in a way, the power of their soul. So the day of passing is a day that's marked, and not only that, but the cemetery in Hebrew is called the Beit HaChaim,
the house of life.
Right.
Wow, yeah. Well, the other thing that we see, just if you just read through the parsha without trying to really stop, and if you just look at the narrative, it's very much the passing of Sarah. When you continue the narrative of the parsha, it's very much about getting on with life. It's a way, I think, of saying that Sarah wouldn't want you to, even though the Torah teaches us that it's a great blessing to attend a funeral and to be about the business of burying your dead. That there's much blessings attended to honoring their passing, but you don't, and there is a mourning period for, like, I believe it's the closer you are to the one who has passed away, is it 30 days, and then you have a year.
There's like levels. There are
right.
these gradient levels. When you're talking about the immediate 7 relatives, mm-hmm. The idea is that these levels, there's two dimensions. First of all, let me say something immediately before I forget, and that is, for all those people that are seriously interested in the concept of the Torah way of mourning, which is an incredible insight. The sages were so sensitive. And the process that we're about to describe of the sitting 7 days and the month and everything, it's like an incredibly sensitive psychological device that enables a person to close the circle, that enables a person to come to grips with this reality. And it's a very, very special experience. And so, the first week is called Shiva because it's that 7 and 7 days. Mm-hmm. And it's a huge mitzvah. It's a huge type of kindness also to come and visit the person when they're sitting in mourning for their relative, and it's amazing because, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world for a person, to, like we're talking about, people have a hard time dealing with death. So a person comes and sits down and doesn't know what to say. And they think they think that they're supposed to take a person's mind off of their loss. They start talking about the ball game and everything. And they think, which is ridiculous, because you're actually supposed to let the person talk and tell their stories and release, externalize all of their feelings. So I said there's two dimensions, because the first idea is basically for the people that are left, for the mourners. They go through the concept of the 7 days, which is the most intense period of mourning in terms of the rules that apply to their physical conduct also, as far as not changing their clothes and not bathing and just sitting and focusing on the loss. And then there's 30 days, and then there's a period of 11 months of saying Kaddish. This is the first year. But the other side of it that I want to mention, the other dimension, is that it's connected to according to the sages, to the stages of the soul. In other words, that because there is a period of judgment that a soul goes through, different levels of what they're experiencing. It's not an easy thing for a soul to acclimate itself to being without the body, to the new experience. And there are levels of judgment, and there are levels of ascent. And by the way, part of the aspect of almost the celebratory nature of the day of death every year, especially for the righteous, is that the soul goes higher every year, and that light becomes even greater. But I want to mention to anyone that's interested in these things a wonderful book in English called The Jewish Way in Death and Mourning, that by Morris Lamb. And it is very comprehensive, both in terms of its content, halakhic content, in terms of procedure and according to Torah law, as well as a lot of philosophical and spiritual and psychological insights that make it very, very useful for a person that's going through that. Two other books that I want to recommend, and I think we've mentioned them in the past also, a tremendous book to have, and you can find it on Amazon. A very dear friend of mine and neighbor here in Jerusalem, also a member of the board of Jerusalem Lights, Dr. Bernie Kastner, wrote, this is his first book. It's called Understanding the Afterlife in This Life, and it's available on Amazon. And the second book is called Back to the Afterlife. And these books you can find online. You can order them online, and they're absolutely amazing because he's done an incredible thing. He's created a synthesis of deep Torah wisdom based on the spiritual wellsprings of the mystical insights of our sages, and a lot of. He is a therapist himself. He is a trained counselor for, I believe, bereavement counselor and grief, and he has a PhD. And in his books, he has this incredible confluence of Torah sources, as well as a lot of research that he's done, for example, on the whole concept of life after death experiences, and kind of like past life regression from very, very big names in these fields, respected names in these fields. And he kind of compares things that have been written on those very amazing topics with the Torah sources. It's absolutely mind-blowing. This book, especially, Back to the Afterlife, it's such an important book for anyone to have, Jew or Gentile, that talks about also that it talks about, according to the Torah sources, the stages that a soul goes through upon leaving the world, and how he matches up what Torah belief is about that with actual experiences that people have had through hypnosis. And it's just the most unbelievable work. And for example, he talks a great deal there about the significance of Marat HaMachpelah, about the tomb of the patriarchs that we're reading about in this week's Torah portion, which according to our mystic sages is like the focal point, even the portal of souls to the next world, which is why Avraham called it the entrance to Gan Eden, and why he was so insistent on purchasing it. You know, another idea about sitting Shiva in the home of the person that passed away is that there is a certain element or a certain kind of spark or part of the soul that remains during that time in the house. And so that it's an honor. It's an honor to that person also, and it kind of helps the person to make this transition.